Good evening. I'm John Kennedy, and I have the honor of serving as your state treasurer. I'm not using a teleprompter tonight. I just want to speak to you from my heart. In 2005, the Louisiana state budget was $16.5 billion. Today, it's $25 billion. That's a 40% increase over a period of time when our economy, as measured by gross domestic product, only grew 25%. So how come we're running deficits? It's really pretty simple. For 7 years, the Louisiana legislature, at the encouragement of the then governor, spent more money than it took in. And it papered over the problem by raiding every single state savings account it could find and using every accounting gimmick in the books. Well, the state savings accounts are gone now, and they're out of tricks. And the chickens have come home to roost, and that's why we're running a budget deficit. What do we do about it? How do we balance a budget? Governor Edwards is proposing to implement the largest tax increase in the history of Louisiana. Basically, what the governor is saying, he's telling Louisiana families and Louisiana businesses that they have to cut their budgets so that Louisiana state government doesn't have to cut its budget. Governor Edwards is proposing to raise personal income tax, sales taxes, corporate income tax, corporate franchise taxes, business utility taxes, inventory taxes, cigarette taxes, liquor taxes, telephone taxes, and he wants to do a new internet tax. It will wreck our economy, already fragile. And it won't work. I don't care how high they raise revenue. As long as they spend more money than they take in, they're going to run deficits. Now, I've sent the governor and each legislator over 400 different ideas and suggestions about how they can reduce spending without hurting anyone. Here they are, right here. Let me mention a couple. Number one, we have $400 million of taxpayer money tied up in 156 statutory dedications. We need to unlock that money and require the programs that money is paying for to compete with universities and healthcare for appropriations. Number two, we have 19,000 consultants paid for by taxpayers on our payroll. They charge too much, and we don't need all of them. Number three, according to the legislative auditor, 22% of all of our managers in the classified service of Louisiana state government manage one employee. We have way too many expensive generals and not nearly enough foot soldiers. Number four, we need to start saying no, as the law allows us to our friends on Medicaid who go to emergency rooms, expensive emergency rooms, to be treated for things like acne, to get a pregnancy test, to have a wart removed, to talk to someone about losing weight, to see if they need glasses. It costs 5 times more to treat them in an ER than it does in a private clinic. Number 5, 3% of the 1.4 million Louisianians on Medicaid spend 43% of the money. We need to find out why. And number 5, according to the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, 10% of the $9 billion taxpayer dollars that we spend every year on Medicaid is attributable to fraud. That's $900 million a year. Even if CMS is half wrong, that's $450 million a year. We need to embed about 15 auditors from the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office in DHH, root out the fraud, and prosecute the perpetrators to the full extent of the law. Now, in just a couple of minutes here, I've given you 6 ideas. There are many more that if we do them properly will save between $500 million and $1 billion hard-earned taxpayer dollars. We don't have a revenue problem. We got a spending problem. But it can be fixed. And you know why I know that? Because I watch Louisiana families and I watch Louisiana businesses live within their means every single day. And now it's Louisiana state government's turn.
Well, Mr. Kennedy, 25 days is not a whole lot of time for discussion. And when the governor released his call, it included some 36 items on which lawmakers can actually file bills in the upcoming session. You've seen this before. You've been there before.
I've seen this movie before.
Yes, indeed. How successful are the special sessions when it comes to state law, taxes, and those spending cuts?
Well, we don't need a special session to get started. Here's what the governor could do in the morning. He could call in every one of his cabinet secretaries and say, within the next 20 days, I want you to go back and reduce your consultants by 10%. Now, I've been in the state government a long time. I know at least one of those cabinet secretaries is going to say, Governor, I can't do it. I need all of them. That's the one you fire. And then the rest of them are going to go, whoa, he's serious. We're going to go reduce some of these consulting contracts. You know, we're supposed to be broke. You know what we did a few months ago? We signed a $1.1 million consulting contract with an artist to develop a sculpture for one of our public hospitals. And I'm sure it's going to be a great sculpture, but it's not going to deliver any health care. We just signed a contract for $12 million with a consultant in Baton Rouge. You know what her job is? To help the Louisiana Department of Economic Development come up with a marketing plan. I mean, come on. You know, we have had consulting contracts to analyze how our kids play at recess, to teach people how to use Facebook, to encourage people to wear their seatbelts. And that's only one of the ideas. These are the ideas I sent to the governor. There are 400 of them. Don't tell me we can't live within our means. I watch families and businesses do it every single day. Listen, I understand the governor's position. I just respectfully disagree. He thinks we're one tax increase away from prosperity. I don't. I don't think we can tax or spend or regulate this state into prosperity.
All right, Treasurer Kennedy, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having
your
me.
point of
Thank
view
you for
here.
making the time available to respond.
It's an important subject matter.
Thank you very much.
So what can lawmakers expect to accomplish